Deaf mute gestures and is gestured to Ben Basara. However, he says he moves his lips and is communicated with by means of lip movements in transactions involving chattels. Young children purchases are purchases, and the dales are sales and transitions involving chattels.
What is the word chattels? That's interesting. I'm an interesting choice of wording. I always just say movable goods, but I guess there's a single word that describes them.
Yeah. All right. These things were declared in the interest of the peace. The poem reads first after Levi, and then it's Israel in the interest of peace. An Arab is placed in the same house as before in the interest of peace. The cistern nearest to the channel is filled first in the interest of peace. Traps for beasts, birds, and fish are covered by the laws of theft in the interest of peace. Rabbi Yossi says it is an actual theft. An article found by a deaf mute, a mentally deranged person, or a minor is covered by the laws of theft in the interest of peace. Rabbi Yossi says it is an actual peace, actual theft. If a poor man is cutting at the top of an olive tree to take what lies below him is considered theft. In the interest of peace, Rabbi Yossi says it is not. It is actual thief. It is actual theft, but poor Gentiles are not prevented from collecting gleanings, forgotten shavings, or the unpacked picked corners of fields in the interest of peace. Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
All right. Ha'omer his kabel get ze leishti. So a husband says to a shaliach, I
Wait,
want
wait, wait, wait.
to,
This is wrong. I'm on Cat.
oh, sorry, go ahead with this. Sorry, I thought you.
A woman who may lead her to a friend who is may lend to a friend who is suspected regarding produce with the Sabbath of Lear as their sister, a sieve, and a hand mill, or an oven, but they may not winnow or grind with her. The wife of a scholar may lend a sifter to a sieve, or to the wife of an unlearned person, and she may winnow, grind, and sift with her. But from when she pours the water, she may not help her because it is forbidden to assist transgressions. All of these are waived or covered in the interest of peace. Gentiles may be encouraged during Sabbath of the Sabbatical year, but not a Jew, and they may be greeted in the interest of peace. Okay.
Okay, yeah. All right. So, Perek Vav. Ha'omer his kabel get ze leishti. So the husband says to the shaliach, accept this get on behalf of my wife. Or or else he phrases it like this: take this get. Holech ze get ze leishti. Take this get to my wife. So he has appointed him as his own shaliach. It's not he hasn't appointed this person as his wife's shaliach, which means that imrat lachzor yachzor. If he changes his mind and says, "Look, actually, I've changed my mind. Don't deliver it," then he's allowed to do that. It's not as if it's the yad of the shaliach is not the yad of the wife. But what happens if a woman says, "Isha shemra his kabel ligiti"? She says to the shaliach, "Okay, my husband has prepared my get. Go and collect it on my behalf." So now this is the wife's shaliach. So he goes to the husband, receives the get. His hand is like the hand of the woman. So once the husband has handed it over to him, the husband can't have second thoughts about it. It's done. Lefichach im amar lo habal so the husband says to the shaliach that the wife said, "Look, I don't want you to accept it on her behalf. Ella polech v'tenla. Do it on my terms. I want you to be my shaliach, basically. Take it and give it to her." So it comes to the same thing, except that he now has his shlichus revoked from the wife, and now he's the shaliach of the husband. Imrat salachzor yachzor, which means that the husband has the right before he actually delivers it to tell him give it back. Rabban Shimon ben Gamliel Omer, Av haomer tol ligiti imrat salachzor lo yachzor. He says also a different phrasing. The Tanna Kama said it has to be that she says accept my get on my behalf. Yeah, but even if she says it in a looser way, take my get for me. Then the husband cannot take it back. So just the act of accepting it, of taking the get, and even though she didn't use the phrasing of accepted on my behalf, says Rabban Shimon Gamliel, is enough to make him her shaliach. Okay. Um, Base. Ha isha she'amra his kabel li geti. So the woman says to the shaliach, accept my get on my behalf. Trick. Now, but what happened? Let's put some background scenario over here. There were some times in history when there were anti-religious edicts by the government of the day, whether it was the Romans, the Hadrian decrees, or whatever, and they would kill anyone who was caught with religious documents. So it was a serious risk to life. So even a get is considered a religious document. So she says, so again, the get has to be handed over, but there's no law that she has to keep the document. It's just that you keep the document as a proof. But let's say they have to destroy the document immediately after it's handed over. So now you're very reliant on the Adam. So the woman says to a shaliach, his kabbalah geti, you must go and accept my get on my behalf. Now she needs two sets of Adam. If it was just remember, if it's just the woman and the man by themselves, and she accepts the get and then has to destroy it, she needs the witnesses who saw her accept the get, and so she's going to need to rely on them. But what the chiddush of this Mishnah is that if she sends a shaliach, she needs two sets of witnesses, right? Eidim she'omrim b'fanenu amra. She appointed this shaliach in front of us, which means it was a kosher shaliach. Ushnayim she'omrim b'fanenu kibel v'kara. In front of us, he accepted the get. The kara is not, you don't have to give aidas on the fact that he destroyed it. It's just the important part over here is that he accepted it, and then agav, we mentioned that he destroyed it because and that's the reason why we need the Adam. Afilu hein harishonim v'hein achronim. You can have the same people serving as both sets of witnesses. Or echad min harishonim ve'echad min achronim ve'echad mitzaref imahen. Or one of the witnesses can be in both pairs of witnesses, and somebody else on, so basically three people altogether. Nara hamorasa. Now, what happens if you have a girl who is in the stage of nara? So there are three stages of a girl's maturity. One is where she is a katana. Up until age 12, she's considered katana, and her husband and her father has the right to accept kiddushin on her behalf. She cannot accept them. Okay, but from the age of 12 to 12 and a half, there's a sort of a gray area, and once she's 12 and a half, she's a bogeres, and her father has no authority over her. She accepts a condition on her own behalf. Same and now the Nara Morasa here, she has accepted kiddushin. At least her father accepted kiddushin on her behalf. Now she's in the stage of Nara, and she is between 12 and 12 and a half. He ve'aviha mekablin eskita. Now the husband who did Erisin with her now wants to divorce her, and says the Tanakama, either one of them can accept her get, and it's a valid divorce. Amar Rabbi Yehuda, ein shtei yadayim zochos kachas. Rabbi Yehuda doesn't like this idea. He says there's only one point of responsibility over here. Only one person can at any given time can be allowed to accept her get. Okay. Ela aviha mekabel es gita bilvad, and therefore, if her father has authority over her, then her father is the only person who is allowed to accept her get. And if she is too young to accept her own get, then she cannot be divorced. So let's say a situation where there's a katana who her father accepted her kiddushin on her behalf, and then the father died. So now her husband cannot actually divorce her until she becomes old enough to accept her own get. Okay. Mishnah Gimel. Katana Shamra his kabel ligiti. Um, so the katana, there's a katana now who is married, and her husband wants to give her a get, and she decides that she wants to accept that she wants to send a shaliach to accept her get. Eino get ad sheyagia get liada. The katana has no power to appoint a shaliach. Right? That's just like a shot of a katan. If she's not bardas for other mitzvahs, she's also not bardas to appoint a shaliach. So, however, she can receive now when she can receive her get, and then and that is a valid get. But so the shaliach is not a valid shaliach. But he can hand it over to her, and once she's received it, it's done. Lefichach, im ratza habal lachzor yachzor. So if her husband changes his mind even after it's gone into the hands of the shaliach, he's allowed to change his mind. She'ein katan osa shaliach. That's the basic point over here, is that a katan has no power to appoint a shaliach. Aval im amar lo aviha. If her father said to him, "Save his kabel leviti gita," but if the father appointed a shaliach on behalf of his daughter, then that's a valid shaliach. Imratza lahachzir lo yachzir. So then the husband cannot recant once it's gone into the shaliach's hands, because it's the shaliach of the father who stands in place of his daughter. Ha'omer tain get ze leishti b'makom ploni. What happens if a man says to his shaliach, "I want you to give this get to my wife in a specific place"? And he gave it to her in a different place. Pasul, he has violated his shlichus. Now, why might a husband do such a thing and say, "Look, I insist it must be handed over in such and such a place"? Um, and the reason might be because he wants it to be publicized in that place, or else he's afraid that he doesn't want people talking about it in other places. Um, so whatever his reasoning is, he wants the divorce to be effected in a certain place, and if the shaliach violates his shlichus, then it's not the divorce is invalid. However, if he simply gives the shaliach instructions and says, "Look, give my wife this get. She's in such and such a place," unasanu la b'makom acher, that's kasher. If he's just giving her the shaliach directions and saying, "Look, you'll find her here," and he finds her somewhere else, that's not a hakpada on which place he must give it to her. He's just suggesting you'll probably find her over there. Ha'isha she'amra hiskabel ligiti b'makom ploni. On the other hand, if a woman says to her shaliach, "Accept my get in such and such a place," v'kiblo la b'makom acher, and he accepted it for her in a different place, pasul. Okay, so that's similar. If he accepted for her in a different place, that is not valid, because again he's violated his shlichus, and therefore he has not actually accepted it on her behalf. Rabbi Eliezer is machshir. He says that a woman can be divorced against her will anyway. So why not? Why not accept the get in a different place? Haveli giti mimakum ploni. If she says, "Bring me my get from the certain place," v'hevia la mimakum acher kasher. But everyone agrees that if she's simply giving a suggestion to her shaliach of where to find the get, but if brings it back from a different place, like the other case of the husband who says, "Give it to her. I think she's in such and such a place," that is also kosher. All right, let's go back to Gimel Gimel. Um,
Here we go. Um, okay. If one was bringing a girl a get and lost it, If he had found it immediately, it is valid. If not, it is not void. If he found it in a pouch or in a case and he recognized it, it is valid. One who brings a get and left him old or ill may leave it to her on the assumption that he is alive. The daughter of a non-Kohen who is married to a Kohen and her husband went overseas may eat truma on the assumption that he is alive. If one sends his sin offering from overseas, it may be offered on the assumption that he is alive. Rabbi Eliezer ben Pater said three things before the stages and he confirmed with words. Concerning the people in the city besieged by an army and those in a ship stormed by a sea, the one who goes to be tried, they are presumed to be alive. But concerning people in the city captured by an army and those in the ship lost at sea, and one who goes to be executed, the stringencies of living and stringencies of the dead are applied to them. The daughter of a non-Kohen married to a Kohen and the daughter of a Kohen married to a non-Kohen may not eat of truma. One who is bringing a get within Eretz Israel and became ill may send it with another. But he had said to them, take from her such and such a thing for me, but he may not send it with another, for it is not one his deposit to be in the hand of another. Okay. Okay.
Nazir, Zain Dalid.
Yeah. Okay. Ooh. Here we go. Dalit, Zion Dalit. Rabbi Eliezer said in the name of Rabbi Shua, any tumor from a corpse for which a Nazir shaves, one is liable because of it for entering the temple, and any tumor from a corpse for which a Nazir does not shave, one is not liable for entering the temple. Reb Meir said there should be not more lenient than a tumor contracted from a creeping thing. Akiva said, I reasoned before Reb Eliezer, if for a bone the size of a barley grain, which does not contaminate a person by way of a roof, the Nazir shaves for touching it or carrying it, for a quarter log of blood which contaminates a person even by way of a roof, it is not clear that a Nazir should shave for touching it or carrying it. He said to me, what is this, Akiva? You cannot reason here by a Kalvakoma. When I came and related these things to Rabbi Shua, he said to me, you have spoken well, but so have they said in an oral law. Two Nazirim to whom an individual said, I saw that one of you became tummy, but I don't know which one of you. They said both they both shave. And they bring jointly a sacrifice of tumah and a sacrifice of tahara. And one of the Nazirim said, if I am the one who is tummy, the sacrifice of tumah is mine, and the sacrifice of tahara is yours. But if I am the one who is tahor, the sacrifice of tahara is mine, and the sacrifice of tumah is yours. They then counted 30 days to bring jointly a sacrifice of tahara. And he says, if I was the one who was tummy, the sacrifice of tumah was mine, the sacrifice of tahara was yours, and this is my sacrifice for tahara. But if I was the one who was tahor, sacrifice of tahara was mine, the sacrifice for tumah was yours, and this is the sacrifice for tahara. If one of them died, Rabbi Shua said he should not seek out someone from the street who
So
now to be. Excuse me?
you should seek out someone from the street.
Right. If one of them died, Rabbi Shua said he should seek out someone from the street who will seek out to be a Nazir parallel to him and say, if I was Tameh, you are a Nazir at once. If I was Tahar, you are a Nazir for 30 days. Then they count 30 days and bring jointly a sacrifice of Tumah and a sacrifice of Tahara. And he says, if I am the one who is Tameh, the sacrifice of Tumah, the Tumah is mine, and the sacrifice of Tahara is yours. But if I am the one who is Tahara, the sacrifice of Tahara is mine, and the sacrifice of Tumah is offered out of doubt. Then they count 30 days and bring jointly the sacrifice of Tahara. And he says, if I am the one who was Tameh, the sacrifice of Tumah was mine, the sacrifice of Tahara was yours, and this is my sacrifice for Tahara. But if I am the one who was Tahor, the sacrifice for Tahara was mine, the sacrifice for Tumah was offered out of doubt, and this is your sacrifice for Tahara. And Zoma said to him, and who will listen to him? Who will listen to him to vow to be a Nazir parallel to him? Rather, he brings a bird as a sin offering and an animal as a burnt offering. And he says, if I was tummy, the sin offering is part of my obligation, and the burnt offering is voluntary. But if I was tahor, the burnt offering is part of my obligation, and the sin offering is out of doubt. He then counts 30 days and brings the sacrifice of Tahara and says, if I was tummy, the first burnt offering was voluntary, and this one is for my obligation. But if I was tahor, the first burnt offering was for my obligation, and this one is voluntary, and this is the rest of my offering. The Yeshua said this results in one brings his offerings piecemeal, but the sages agree with Ben Zoma.
And another one. They're long.
And who was in doubt whether he was tummy, and in doubt also whether he was confirmed Mitzorah, he may eat sacred foods every 60 days. And drink wine and contaminate himself with the tumor of the dead after 120 days. But because saving for the affliction, for Saharas overrides saving for the years when the former is certain, but when it is doubtful, it does not override it.
Okay. All right, hier vamos. Perek Tesvav Aleph.
Okay, test above Aleph. A woman who went with her husband overseas, and there was an enmity between them and her and peace in the world. And she came and said, "My husband died; she may marry." Or she said, "My husband died; she may be taken in yibum." If there was an enmity between them and her, and but war in the world, if there was a conflict between him and her and peace in the world, and she came and said, "My husband died," she is not believed. The Yehuda says she is never believed unless she comes in weeping with all her clothes torn. The sages mentioned the harvest only to recount the actual incident, but they still began to rule like Beit Shammai.
Wait, I
Beit
think you skipped.
Shammai, skip the page. Yeah, that's what I thought. Okay. So they said to him, in either case, she may marry. Basil said, "We have not heard this tradition except in the case where she came from the harvest and from the same country where the incident which occurred." And Shammai said to them, "It is the same whether she came from picking, harvesting grain, or from picking olives or picking grapes from one country to another." The sages mentioned the harvest only in recounting the actual red incident, and Basil recanted and began to rule like Beit Shammai. But Shammai said she may marry and she may receive a ketubah, but Beis Hillel said she may not marry but not receive a ketubah. But Shammai said to them, "You permitted the grave erba offense, but you would not permit the grave money offense." And Beis Hillel replied, "We find that the brother who did not inherit the data as testimony, Shammai applied. We can learn this from the ketubah document in which he writes there, if you marry another, you shall receive what is written to you." Beis Hillel recanted and began to rule like Beis Shammai.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, Shabbos.
Okay. We have Yud Gimel Vav. If a deer entered a house and one locked the door in front of it, he is liable. If two people lock the door, they are exempt. If one person alone could not lock the door and two locked it, they are both liable. If Shimon, however, exempts them. If one person sat in the doorway but not fully block it, and then a second person sat down and blocked it, the second one is liable. If the first person sat in the doorway and blocked them completely, then the second person came and sat down alongside him. Even though the first person stood up and went away, the first person is liable and the second person exempt. To what is this case analogous? Um, and to one who locks his house to safeguard it, and a deer is found to be guarded therein. One more. The eight shratzim mentioned in the Torah, and one who traps them and one who bruises them is liable. But either other vermin and crawling things, one who bruises them is exempt. One who traps them because he needs them is liable. If he does not need them, he is exempt. Beasts and wild birds and birds that are in one's domain, one who traps them is exempt, but one who bruises them is liable.
Okay.
And Taharos. Okay. Hey, Chet. The status is one deranged female. If there is one deranged female in the town, or a Canaanite woman, or a female Kutin, all the spittle of the town is tummy. Regarding someone upon whom garment of women tread, or who sat with him on a big boat, if he recognizes him as someone who eats truma, his garments are tahor, but if not, he must ask her. If a single witness says that one was rendered tummy, and the person says, "I was not rendered tummy," he is deemed tahor. If two witnesses said you were rendered tummy, and he says, "I was not rendered tummy," the Rebbe Maya rules him tummy, for the sages say he is believed through himself. If a single witness says that he was rendered tummy, and two witnesses say that he was not rendered tummy, he is deemed tahor, whether in a private domain or a public domain. If two witnesses say that he was rendered tummy, and a single witness says that he was not really rendered tummy, he is deemed tummy, whether in a private or a public domain. If a single witness says that he was not rendered tummy, that he was rendered tummy, and another single witness says that he was not rendered tummy, or if a woman says that he was rendered tummy, and another woman says that he was not rendered tummy, in a private domain, he is deemed only tummy. In the public domain, he is deemed tahor. That's the end of this. We're going to another one.
Also, yeah, one more Mishnah.
There's no more Mishnah here.
Antaras Shesh Perek Vav Aleph.
No, the last one.
Are you split into, is your thing split into two volumes?
I don't. Yes, I realize that. I'll get up sooner or later.
Okay.
Can't find it. I don't know why I can't find it. All right. We have, okay. Verb Aleph. Regarding a place which was private domain and a public domain, and then again became a private domain when it is a private domain, the two uncertainties are true tame, and when it's a public domain, it's two uncertainties are true tahor. If a terminally ill person was in a private domain and they took him out to public domain, then they returned him to a private domain. While he is in the private domain, his two certainties are Ru Tame, while he is in the public domain, his two certainties are Ru Tahor. Reb Shimon says the public domain interrupts. Okay.
Okay.
All right. And we go
Lee.
to Menachos. Goes Zion Beit. The initial initiation offerings were brought like the matzah of the Toda offering, kalos, rekin, and rebuka. That of the Nazir consisted of two pairs of the matzah of the Toda offering, kalos and weekend, but there is no rebuka. Thus, it consists of 10 Jerusalem calves, which equals 6 esrons, and the excess. For all of them, he would take 1/10 of truma, as is stated, and he shall bring from it one from every living offering as a truma to Hashem. One that he may not take is broken. From every offering, all that the offerings should be equal, and he may not take from one offering for another. To the Kohen who throws the blood of the shlomin offering shall belong, and the remainder shall be eaten by the owner. If one slaughtered the total offerings inside while its loaves were outside the wall, the bread is not sanctified. If he slaughtered it before they became crusted in the oven, or even if they were all crusted except for one, the bread is not sanctified. If he slaughtered it from behind the time or from outside his place, the bread is sanctified. If he slaughtered it and it was found to be trefa, the bread is not sanctified. If he slaughtered it and it was found to be blemished, Rabbi Eliezer says it is sanctified, but the sages say it is not sanctified. If he slaughtered it for a designation other than his own, and so too the initiation ram, and so too the 2 lambs of Shavuos, which one was slaughtered for the designation other than their own, the bread is not sanctified. If libations were sanctified in a vessel and the sacrifice was found to be invalid, and if there was another sacrifice present, instead offered with it. But if not, they become invalid by being left overnight. The offspring of a total offering is tomorrow, and one who set aside a total offering, it was lost, and he set aside in another place, do not require bread, as it's stated, and he offer it with the sacrifice of the total offering. The total offering requires bread, but neither its offspring or replacement, but its tomorrow requires bread.
Okay. All right. I'm gonna run along. Have a
Well,
lovely
have a
day.
good day. Yeah. This far, thank you.
Bye.